Hey everybody, welcome to Beyond Magog. And today we are interviewing Kat Rocha of 01 Publishing. Say hi to my fans, Kat.
Hey everybody in TV land.
Yes, welcome to the out of character stream Beyond Magog. So Kat, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started on the hard questions. This is going to be like 60 seconds with drinking.
That's cool. I got my drink. I can do this. Well, I am the editor-in-chief and CEO of 01 Publishing. I founded the company back in 2011 after being in the comic book industry since 2006. Started off as a penciler and then decided I was much better running a company instead of creating content. So.
Well, at least you recognized your strengths. You recognized your strengths.
You live and you grow. And as much as I love drawing and I still do it, I found that I just do not have the stamina to do it every single day. I am much better keeping track of books and wrangling the monkeys.
Yeah, there you go. Fuck yeah. I mean, no, I totally get it. Like, I love art, but man, I couldn't imagine working under deadlines, doing like comic book pages and stuff. That would just stress me the fuck out. Like, I like doing art because I enjoy it. I've never really wanted like visual art to be a career of mine. I've always wanted to be more of a writer or a director or something. So I guess that's why YouTube has kind of allowed me to do kind of all of those things. I get to be a filmmaker, I get to be a director, I get to be a writer, I get to be an artist, and I get to kind of do my own thing. So it's like the perfect balance of everything I've wanted out of my life. It's awesome.
It's wonderful. Awesome.
Yes. So anyway, tell us about 01 Publishing and tell us about what mostly you guys publish. And while you're doing that, I will screen share.
Oh, please do.
And pull up your website here.
Oh, please do. Well, 01 Publishing, we publish science fiction, horror, and cyberpunk. Mostly horror and cyberpunk, but we also do some fantasy, novels and graphic novels. Our most recent book coming out is Case File Arkham, Her Blood Runs Cold. Case File Arkham is a occult noir series set in Lovecraft's Arkham, Massachusetts. Each graphic novel is its own standalone story, so you don't have to worry about, am I getting volume 1, am I getting volume 2? You can jump in at any time. And it follows the cases of Hank Flynn, private detective.
Cool. Yeah, look at this. Let's try to got some creators here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're about, and everybody, you can find these links in the description. You've got, is there like a place I can go on your website here that has some like examples of the artwork, or?
If you go to titles,
there we go. Case File Arkham. Oh, that's fun.
Those are the 2 volumes. The first one is Nightmare on the Canvas, where Detective Flynn investigates the disappearance of the artist known as Pikmin.
Nice. And look at that. Look at this really nice artwork on the inside too. Like really great ink work.
Thank you. The artist is Patrick McAvoy. For those of you who are fans of Cthulhu Mythos, you'll know his work from the box of the Arkham horror game, actually. His artwork is featured on there. He also did work for Call of Cthulhu and many of the Fantasy Flight titles like Game of Thrones.
Nice. I love this cross-hatching and hatching for the hatching and cross-hatching for like the sky. Really detailed work for a comic book. I mean, it's got that Sin City feel to it, but it is a lot more detailed than Sin City. Because Sin City was Sin City was inked by, like was created by Frank Miller, but it was that very like harsh contrast, like just black, like straight matted black and white,
I do believe that Frank Miller was one of the inspirations for Patrick's black and white style for this book. Patrick is extremely versatile. He created this style for this particular book where the artwork that he did for World War Kaiju is a lot more painterly. In fact, for that book, since it takes place between the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, he changed his art style for each time period. And this book is Crazy Mary by Michael Colbert, and artist is J.K. Woodward.
Yeah, and this is really nice too. It's kind of got that watercolor look,
I believe J.K. Works in gouache, so those were all hand painted.
Right, yeah. Very nice, like reflections on the coat, kind of semi-photorealistic. I love this stuff. I love it. And I'm a huge fan of Lovecraft. I really am. So that definitely helps your case with me.
Wonderful. Yeah, we actually did not plan it this way, but the majority of of the horror that we are currently publishing, we hope to expand this in the future, is largely plays in Lovecraft's backyard. We besides Case File Arkham, we also have 2 prose anthologies of Lovecraft-inspired short stories.
Right, yeah, and you sent me a bunch of cool shit. So. Like I've got those graphic novels here for my collection.
Oh, very cool.
Kat sent these to me to bribe me. That's what it is. It's a bribe. And then obviously you got some other Lovecraft stuff here. The Whispers from the Abyss. That's cool art there. Look at that Cthulhu. Yeah. I don't know if it comes through opposite on YouTube, but it's like backwards on my end. But that's what I hate about Hangouts. I'm definitely going to work out a better format for like interviews and stuff. And then you got like, what is this? What is this one?
That is Utopiates, and that is the first project that I worked on. I was the penciler on that project.
That's real nice artwork too. I know it's kind of shiny. It's shiny. Fantastic. I can't wait to read a lot of these. Like I've looked through a few of them, but I haven't exactly had a lot of time to read.
You've been busy building a house, building a world, in fact.
Yep. And then there's this nice signed copy of World War Kaiju. And it says, "Dear Magog, is Beardbarian retarded or drunk? I want to know. J. Finney." That holds a special place in my heart. To answer your question, J. Finney, if you ever watch this, is the Beardbarian retarded or drunk? The answer is yes. That is both. Those are both true statements. And you also sent me quite a few little promos here. I love these little art cards. Very, very cool. I don't know if I'll get flagged for showing some of these because they got nudity and stuff, but these are fantastic.
Yeah, they're a little adult. I'm not entirely sure which one is more adult, Shub-Niggurath there or the one of her priestess.
Right. This is a crazy bitch right here. She's got a giant vagina filled with teeth on her chest. So that is insanity. But I love these. These are going to be like these are really nice paintings. They're gonna be stored with my special cool collection. You know, there's that naked bitch with a knife. You know, that's hot. Yep. And this is a nice piece. I really like that kind of pinup style.
Mhm.
You know, really cool. So thank you so much for sending me these. These are fantastic. I mean, it came with like it was so much more than I thought too. I got like fake, like, what do these look like? Movie tickets, auction tickets. And I've got me a nice private investigator's license for Arkham. That's cool. And a nice Flynn Investigations business card. and a cool bookmark for Arkham. Yeah. Arkham case files. Case file Arkham. So that's awesome. Thanks for the bribe.
I'm glad that it did its job.
Let me switch this to live chat mode. I will check Streamlabs in a second, see if there's anybody who's donated. I do have that up. But
good.
Not a big deal. I just like to check it from time to time. But anyway, so what is it that you guys? I mean, you're a small publisher, right? But,
yeah.
But you guys have future plans, I'm assuming.
Oh yes, most definitely. We had to slow things down a little bit for this last year or so, but ramping up, we definitely have big things in the works. We have a dystopian fairy tales anthology planning on coming out later this year.
And that's a graphic novel? Is that a graphic novel or a book?
That is prose.
Okay, cool. Now, I think the question everybody wants to know, whether they're typing it in the chat or not, is when are we going to get a Magog graphic novel?
Well, that's on you, sir.
Just, like you got case file Arkham. When are we getting case file ass rape? Yeah. Like, when is that happening?
Wow. I wish I was more on the ball. I don't have. Well, let's I got Poe back there. He came over to visit. We could ask him.
Yes, I see that. She's such a fan. She went out and bought a $12 Halloween prop.
And I bought a shirt.
Yes. I saw your name amongst the people who bought. Thank you so much. Appreciate
I had to. Actually,
supporting the show.
I recently went and visited a friend of mine in Orange County, and I showed up on her doorstep, and the first thing she did was, "You got a Poe shirt."
I'm really surprised. Like, Poe doesn't get as many views as Magog, but the people who watch Poe are hardcore Poe lovers. Like, they are hardcore. They love Poe.
Poe is probably one of the most unique things online right now. I mean, the reading advice columns from feminists and cucks and just telling them the obvious. You can't get much better than that. You really can't.
Yeah, I feel very free when I write for Poe because it's not my face on the screen. So in a way, Poe is like if Magog's my dark side, Poe's my real dark side. Like it's like Inception. It's like a dark side within a dark side. It just keeps going deeper and deeper. I'd love to have like a Midnight Drury episode or a Midnight Drury comic run, like a graphic novel where it's like Poe is like a detective, just like in like your Arkham series. Like he's not like a film noir detective. He's got like a little fedora on, cigarettes hanging out of his beak. He's like this big compared to everybody else in the comic book. But I'd love to do that just so that I can put the art up on screen and do a whole video of Magog or Poe reading his parts. So that like the first page you'd be like, I can't believe this dame showed up. Walked in, silky smooth with a walk like a cat. I was turned on, but I knew she was dangerous. You know, I'd die. I don't know if I could read the lines without laughing. You know.
Until I saw the men's tears pin on her purse.
Right. Just love to get to that point in the comic book where he's just like, and then I bitch slap that whore. Little Poe's wings like, whoosh, and her face is like turning, you know. Shut up and make me a sandwich.
Oh my God. Wow. Well, then there's the question of like, you have the the good girl, who's always in there, the Girl Friday, or the supportive one, or even better, the guardian angel type character, as well as having the femme fatales in
right.
Those sorts of stories. So it's like him reacting to each one.
Yep. Yeah. That would be it would be really funny if Poe was drawn into a feminist criminal conspiracy.
Oh my God.
And couldn't tell which of the ladies, the dames, was the feminist, the feminist overlord, that would be hilarious, And when it's finally revealed, it's the one that he wasn't expecting, and she turns around in the chair and it's got a cat just like a Bond villain. And she's all like, hello, Poe. You finally figured it out. Quit stroking your pussy. It's gross. The hell are you? That would be great. That would be funny as shit. So anyway, Anyway, I wanted to have you on the show and give you a little exposure. Everybody go visit. Everybody follow Kat and 01 Publishing on Twitter. Links in the description, and drop by their website. Check out what they got going on. I love indie comics projects because the mainstream stuff has gone off the deep end. And I've never been I stopped collecting comics, when I was a teenager. Don't get me wrong. I've never been like the biggest comic book fan, but it feels like mainstream comics has really been taken over. So these new indie projects are coming out. People like you and people like, the creators doing Rags, the zombie, comic book. Like that stuff to me feels like there's passion in it. They don't care about being PC. They want to tell a good story. That's the type of shit that I love. I love that these people are crowdfunding. They're starting small, but the project's theirs, 100% theirs. So that I'm really, really happy you're doing what you're doing. Little publishing company over there doing its thing, but creating amazing work. Just looking through these comic books and just absolutely brilliant stuff.
Well, like you said, the big two, it's disgusting how far they've fallen, how it's, they've turned into event of the week. There's no creativity anymore. There's no good stories. In fact, they are actively just getting on a soapbox and preaching at you what they think you should think, and not telling good stories about characters that people love. And I'm with you. I love the fact that today, if you have an idea and you have a dream, you can get out there and you can make a comic book, whether it's putting it out page by page as a web comic, or getting it printed, or putting it out there on Comixology. There are so many avenues out today that were not out even 5 years ago. And these are very exciting times for indie creators. And I'm with you. It gets me excited seeing what people put out there and what they share online. It's wonderful.
Right. So you're a publisher. Does that?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not a printer. So
No, no.
How are you? Are you guys printing on demand?
Oh, no, no. Nothing against on demand, but just as our artwork is, has a certain level to it of quality, same with our printing. All of our printing is offset. We order and have, I have a few here being warehoused. We're actually in the process of moving to a bigger location, but
Right.
I have some, I keep stock. And we actually go to crowdfunding to help with some of the costs of printing, but we do it all ourselves.
Right. And your sales are obviously, you have enough markup to have a profit and actually make this your career.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I have run 7 successful Kickstarters, and I'm doing a book currently on not only running a successful Kickstarter, but how to plan said markups and how to make sure you actually make a profit off of your books once you get them printed. So,
Yeah, because I mean, when you're dedicated to your product, nobody wants to see you. And my fans are a perfect example of that. Nobody wants to see you go get a job at Burger King when you're so good at this thing that people want to see.
Exactly.
My fans really rallied behind me, and they're excited for the show. And as soon as that studio is being finished built, we had about a week of just pure thunderstorms here that put off work, but the guy's up there right now working. So I'm going to be having some footage uploaded soon.
Oh, good, because last I saw was just you tromping around the underbrush before they got to work. So I'm excited to see how it's developed.
Yeah, so we're getting real close to having some footage of trees being knocked down and everything. And once we have a nice clear front 2 acres, I'll be picking a building site, and I've got a builder lined up that I'm going to go talk to and look at some of his plans for steel buildings, and we're gonna be getting to work on this. So
that's excellent. Honestly, I'm so excited for you being able to do this. I mean, just like you were talking about seeing indie creators online, it gets me giddy seeing your dream coming true and becoming a reality. Also, partially, I'll be honest, because I get to live vicariously through you, because the idea of creating my own medieval fantasy village where I get to have archery and sword fights is just like a dream. So seeing you living this, it's like, okay, this is too cool.
Yeah, it's everybody wants a medieval village at the end of the day. That's a thing. It's the American dream.
It is. My childhood was spent at the Renaissance Festival with my mom's D&D group. So, I cut my teeth on that stuff.
And I think, you being a fan of Magog, that's interesting too, because a lot of people in the publishing world and in the comic book world, in the arts in general these days, are very progressive, left-leaning individuals who would not like my channel. So why are you different? What's wrong with your brain?
No, I'm more shocked I have this brain and I live in California. But no, my company's logo is no safe spaces, and I hold true to that. If you can't deal with being challenged, if you can't deal with being having new ideas brought to you, with having your buttons pushed or boundaries pushed, if you feel uncomfortable about something, that is good. Otherwise, don't read my stuff. Don't read my books. One book, this book I will tell people always, and I sing the praises of this book to this day. It's the Sadist Bible. You can find it on the website. It has been compared to.
Yes, I have
Oh, you have it. Excellent.
it.
It has definitely been compared to Clive Barker, and with very good reason. I had a very visceral reaction to some of the scenes in that book, and that told me, okay, if I'm reacting to it like this, then I must publish it. Because if it's making me feel this uncomfortable, I would be a hypocrite to not put this book out. And it's good. It's very well written by Bram Stoker award-winning author Nicole Cushing, and yeah, it pushes boundaries, and that is the kind of stuff that we want. Not only the fun things like World War Kaiju or the dark noir Lovecraft of Case File Arkham, but we want the stuff that pushes boundaries.
Right, yeah, I'm excited. Real quick, Feels Good Man dropped a sign in the chat, said, "Fans, you mean your loyal army?" Yes, that's what I mean. I just flipped through a random page in the Sadists' Bible. I'm gonna read it, give the fans a little something.
Oh God.
But she wore makeup fit for a harlot, and that led Ellie to suspect the modesty was a charade. She daydreamed about ripping that dress off, cutting it off with a knife, to be exact. Daydreamed about pulling her hair, forcing her to the ground, forcing her to stay there, making sure she could never, ever leave.
That was her watching the weather report, if I remember correctly.
So like that's fun stuff. I've always loved visceral writers. A lot of writers I've enjoyed when I was younger write in the world of Lovecraft as well, as their own worlds. They kind of create, like probably one of my favorite authors that really like reading him was like watching a train wreck. It's like disturbing and fucked up and horrifying, but you can't turn away,
I'm interested.
And he eventually started his own press and has been releasing books via his own little publishing company because I guess he kind of wanted to go his own way because of modern publishing. They weren't publishing stuff like his because it had a lot of like rape and demons doing horrible things to people. And his name was Edward Lee. And Ed Lee, man, he was a kick in the face type of writer. Like you read his shit and you're like, who thinks of this? This is fucking disgusting. But I loved it. I loved that like, that kind of, etching your, when you come across a writer like Jack Ketchum or Edward Lee, that can just etch their way into your brain,
Yeah.
And just like when you lay down at night, you just can't get it out of your head, That is, to me, a wonderful challenge, Ed Lee wrote his Infernal series, which is all about how hell kind of evolved the same way the world does. So it started out as like a fiery pit, of brimstone. But eventually, over time, just as technology and stuff advanced on Earth, so did it in hell. And hell became like a massive metropolis called the Mephistopolis. And it's just basically like a planet like Coruscant in Star Wars. It's like the whole surface is just this massive hell city with like street names named after serial killers and dictators. And instead of police, they have the hell constabulary, and they go around, instead of like arresting people for crimes, they go around raping teenagers and eating the faces off of people and shit, and it's like, that is a fucked up little world he created, And I love his Infernal City, Infernal Angel. Like that's a whole series of books about people, kind of learning the truth about hell. There was like a scene in one of them where like these giant ticks, these hell ticks, like they're like the size of puppies, are like sucking on people's faces, and their asses are getting bigger, filling with blood, and the people are all like fucking, they're all surging and fucking seizing on the ground, and they're fucking their fucking blood's just being drained out of their fucking bodies by these giant hell ticks. It's like,
Oh
this
my
is
God.
a disturbing shit. Yeah, probably one of the most disturbing novels I read about by Edward Lee was one of his earliest novels before he wrote the Infernal series, and that was called Header. Now, Ed Lee has like this thing about like redneck hillbillies. Like he has a genuine fear of these people. So like a lot of his novels have like hardcore, like rapist, incestuous, hills have eyes type of, like hillbillies in them. And, this book Header was all about like a family feud, like the Hatfield and McCoys, and like the worst thing you could do to somebody. Like if somebody really wronged you and your family, you'd go out, kidnap one of their daughters, drag them back to some shack in the woods, drill a hole in the top of their fucking head and fuck their brain. And it's called a header.
That's pretty twisted.
Yeah. And the way he describes it, like because he does that like redneck, like hillbilly talk. Oh, it's fucking cringy, disturbing. Like your spine tingles when you read it. It's just like, there's this like old guy in a wheelchair who can't perform the header because he's paralyzed. So he's watching his own fucking nephew, like give this fucking girl a header, And he's like, yeah, you shoot that pecker snot up into her brain. And it's just like, oh, this is weird. This is fucked up. Fucking Emily, man.
Kind of reminds me of a manga series that I love. I love called MPD Psycho. And the first volume features a guy who kidnaps girls, bandsaws the top of their skull off, and plants a flower in their brain while they're still alive. And he calls them his little flowers, and he cultivates the flowers, growing slowly through their brain until they eventually die of one reason or another. And then he plants them in public.
Nice.
It's like, oh God. But that book series was really twisted.
Yeah,
to say the least. It was 11 volumes that came out here in the United States, and that was volume 1.
Yeah, I love shit like that, though. I do. I mean, I've always been a horror fan. I mean, the book I wrote, The Bacchus Vine, under my pen name Keaton Floyd, it's all about, like the old gods, the Greek gods. Basically, this crazy guy performed like a blood ritual.
I did not know you wrote.
Yep. And
what's your pen name? Or can I get it online somewhere?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Sweet. What's your name again?
My pen name is Keaton Floyd.
Keaton Floyd.
Yep.
All right, please continue.
And the name of the book is The Bacchus Vine. Bacchus being,
Oh, I know Bacchus.
Yeah, the Roman name for Dionysus, the
yes.
god of wine, fertility, and ritual madness.
Bacchanalia.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know if it's a good novel, to be honest with you. I wrote it so long ago. I'm a much better writer now. And it's self-published, so it's not like it's like a big fucking deal or anything. But I loved writing it because of just how kind of twisted I could create like a world like that. Basically, a guy performs a blood ritual, has a huge, like the book starts off with a blood orgy,
Mm-hmm.
And from that sacrifice, he grows these grapes, these grapes, the Bacchus vine, and he makes wine out of them. And then he sells the wine in this small town. And he also has like a version of the wine that's broken down into like a powdered form and sold as a drug. Mm-hmm. And the more people drink this, the more they become these like malformed versions of Greek mythological creatures. Like satyrs and gorgons. And so he's basically trying to create the Titans so that when the Titans are fully formed and they start raping and, and stuff like that, they'll give birth to the gods, the new gods. the new Zeus, the new Poseidon, you know, and all this and that. So it's a real fun story with like a moral undertone of like substance abuse and drug use. You know,
Nice.
I wouldn't read it expecting it to be like a really well written, edited book because I just wrote it and self published it. Shut up, Casey. Nobody needs to know about Cemetery Clan. That is the worst book I've ever written. There is another book out there called Cemetery Clan by Keaton Floyd, but I literally wrote that out of high school. Like that was 15 years ago. Like I literally wrote that and didn't edit it at all. Like the misspelled words, and I'm not proud of it. It was like I published it back in like 2007, even though I wrote it in high school back in 2003 or 4. You know, so yeah, I don't recommend reading Cemetery Clan. That is a shit story. I need to call iUniverse and tell them to cancel the printing of it. You know, I keep forgetting to do that. Cemetery Clan is definitely not worth reading. Just the misspelled words alone. I wouldn't say misspelled. I'm just like, I was young. I didn't get, there was a lot of stuff in it that I just didn't understand was the way, like, you write. You get what I'm saying? Like, instead of saying like cigarette bud, I'd say, instead of cigarette butt, I'd say bud, because I wasn't a smoker at the time when I wrote it. Like I didn't understand, you know. Like there's a lot of shit. Now people still read it and was like, even with all the misspelled words and everything, it was a good story. But I am not proud of Cemetery Clan. Please don't read Cemetery Clan.
Well, is it something that you would revisit? Maybe at least run through a spell checker, if not, rewrite some things and then.
I probably would one day if I was still into trying to write books. But right now, I'm 100% dedicated to Magog. So I don't have a lot of time to write books. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm writing all the time, but it's scripts, it's stories for Magog, it's stories for the world. I'm trying to build a sitcom here. I don't exactly have time to write a novel.
No, you do not. And not only that, but changing gears between the types of writing. I mean, going from, not necessarily script writing, but something that's going to be for the visual medium as opposed to, prose. And your head has to change gears to do that. And that can actually throw you off. So.
Right, exactly. And it's, I enjoy writing horror. The Bacchus Fine, and both Cemetery Clan and Bacchus Fine are horror. I've always been an enthusiast of horror novels. I read Bram Stoker's Dracula at the age of 12. Like that was a pretty advanced book for that age range. And I read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and just kept moving up from there, And I started reading a lot of like more classic literature, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, The Man in the Iron Mask, which isn't horror, but has like Alexander Dumas had some pretty awesome imagery in it.
It's an incredibly dark book.
Yeah, imagine being locked in a prison for 15 years with this fucking iron thing on your head, and that's one of those things where it's like really pointed me in the direction of horror. And then by the time I was a teenager, I was reading everything from Anne Rice to Richard Matheson and Stephen King. Stephen King. I'm actually not a big fan of King, but I am of Bachman. And that's Stephen King, one of Stephen King's alter pen names. Richard Bachman. And for some reason, I didn't like King, but I like Bachman, even though it's the same guy. It's King. But it's just the way he wrote as Richard Bachman, And then I moved on to more visceral writings like Ed Lee and Jack Ketchum and Dean Koontz, people like that were like just punch in your face, fucked upness,
Oh, totally.
And I started writing short stories in high school, and I started with this collection of short stories called The Chronicles of Sin, about like these. Like this idea that everybody on the planet has a doppelganger, a shadowy self that literally follows you around in your life, and you can never see them or anything, but they keep track of your sins. And then when you die, if your soul is pulled to hell because your sins are great, that doppelganger is what tortures you in hell.
I like that.
And so, like, it was all these short stories of this one powerful doppelganger who just went by the name Mr. Sin, who's just a shadow with like a Cheshire cat grin, who would go up and collect souls in fucked up ways and then torment them in hell. And it turned out that Mr. Sin was the first doppelganger ever created. He was Lucifer's doppelganger. So he's literally like it's like, in that world I created, Lucifer wasn't the king of hell. He was being tortured just like everybody else. And guess who was torturing Lucifer? His doppelganger, Mr. Sin. So it's like, this character's fun to write because he's basically the top dog, shadow, sin collector, and they were real fun. And so I had a whole bunch of short stories that were tied into the Chronicles of Sin that all had Mr. Sin in them, and that's where I started writing. That's after that, I just kept going and going. And eventually I wrote a few books, and I've got about like 28 other novels that I've never finished. It's a real fun to kind of. I have the opposite of writer's block. I'm one of those people that, like, I'll get a new idea in the middle of writing one, and I'll be like, oh, I got to get that down, and I'll go over and start another one, and then I'll never go back to the one before it. So it's like opposite, like of writer's block.
I've met other writers with the same problem. What they tend to do is they'll write like a treatment of that idea, okay, beginning, middle, end, or, however much they have in their head, but try to continue on with what they're currently doing. And then once they finish, then it's like, okay, what project do I want to do next? And then they've got all these treatments. So it's like, okay, what's the most interesting to me at this very moment in time, and do it that way.
Yeah, I hear that. And don't get me wrong, I had a book lined up that was going to be what I consider my magnus opus, my magnum opus. And I really wanted to write this book, but I didn't feel confident in my writing ability at the time that I created it. So it's been backshelved for 10 years, a decade. But man, if ever I could write it one day, it would make a badass movie.
You'll
a series of movies. Yeah, it'd have to be at least three novels. I mean, it's my War and Peace,
Well, you finish, your village. You make that wildly successful, and then that will give you the ability to revisit it, and you can make it as you're writing the treatment for the movie, the miniseries, whatever. You're also writing the book adaptation.
Yeah.
And the things that you can't put on the screen, well, that's what the books are for.
Right, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to be a novelist one day. I've always wanted to be a novelist, but it just never took off for me. I got distracted easily. I went into the military and then jet setting the world.
That's more than a distraction.
Yeah, exactly. And so I wrote a lot in the military on my downtime, but it never felt like a job. It always felt more like a hobby, I think I'm more of an artist, a visual artist. I think that the writing helps me branch into the thing I love the most, and that's cinematography. I've always loved telling a story visually,
Just 1 second. I'm very sorry. I need to step away for just 1 second.
Right. I will entertain the audience. How's everybody doing today? Let me check Streamlabs and see if anybody.
Go. My computer alerted me that the battery was about to die. Apparently, it was not plugged in.
That does happen from time to time.
So sorry about that.
It's all right. I was just checking Streamlabs just to make sure I don't miss any of those.
Yeah, those are important.
Yeah, just in case. I don't know if anybody necessarily is going to donate or not, but I always have it open just in case. I don't want to miss anything.
Oh.
Yeah.
You need to be there for your adoring fans.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah. So anyway, let's take a break and
Okay.
and take questions from the chat. Does anybody have any questions for Kat? Anybody? We got to wait for it. There's a delay.
Not a problem. Ask me anything. Does not have to be about what we've been talking about. It can be any weird stuff.
Yes. Race Jacobson says Kat is very stunning.
Oh, thank you.
You're stunning.
I'm stunning.
Darling.
Darling.
I have a question. What's going on? Just got here. I'm Sirius with Days Off says is asking what's going on. I am having an interview with Kat, who is the CEO and editor in chief of 01 Publishing, and she sent me all these cool books and graphic novels. You'll find links in the description. Go over and check it out. They do a lot of publishing of different artists and writers that create stuff kind of in the a lot of it is in the Lovecraft universe, which I love. Yeah. So
very nice to meet you all.
Yeah. Rev68 says I'm very smitten with Kat.
Aw.
You have admirers now. I'm sorry I subjected this to you.
I'm surrounded by little hearts.
Yeah, Antifa Hotline is in the chat. Asks, have you published any horror novels involving the alt-right and Russian collusion?
Not horror novels, but World War Kaiju does cover the Cold War with kaiju. So and it culminates in the Cuban monster crisis. So
right. Yeah, well, you should definitely get on producing something for Antifa Hotline that contains vigilante Antifa members doing the good work of Antifa. Get out of my chat, Antifa Hotline. Have either of you read Crossed? And if so, what did you think of it? That does not sound familiar.
If that's the... No, I'm thinking of Priest. Sorry, you're not talking the graphic novel with the guy who's got the cross burned onto his face, is he?
I have no idea. That doesn't sound familiar to me. So, Furbarian, I will give you a wrench if you can find it or something. Link it in the chat. Throw it in there. You know, if it's on Amazon or something, throw it in there, and we'll check it out. I'll save it. You know, I'll go check it out. Tatiana Whitaker says, what would be the best technique to develop a character? Ooh, that's a toughie.
Like writing characters, or for like what you're doing for creating for acting purposes?
Yeah, that's the big part. Like you have to break down exactly what your medium is first, I think.
Yeah, because how you would portray a character for, you know, prose versus graphic novels versus you know, performance work, and even performance, is it like with you do, where it's pre-recorded most of the time, or is it improv? Is it on stage? You know, you have to make your character for your medium first.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when it comes to writing characters, see, Magog isn't a written character. I came up with Magog as a damn joke and just kept rolling with it. So in many ways, Magog is just the dark side of me, my own personality. But when I was writing novels, I always felt like you start with a basis of a character, what their inspirations are and what their life is, what background they come from. Because in a way, everybody has some sort of cliche in their life, and that's easy to pin down. Are they the jock? Are they the goth girl at school? Are they the tragedy-stricken hero that like lost his parents, you know, and became a cop because of it? You know, like that's the Batman origins. I mean, that's Spider-Man. You know, like those archetypes exist for a reason. They've worked literally throughout history. Like you go back to like all the way back to like the stories of Hercules and Perseus. Their lives were never happy.
Well, a happy life is boring.
Right. So you have to find the inspirations of the characters, you know. I think that's the starting point. But after that, I have found, I don't know if you found this, Kat, but when you're writing, sometimes something happens and your plan goes out the window and the
Oh
character
yeah.
kind of takes on their own life. That
Oh
actually
yeah.
happens when you're writing.
That totally happens, and it's kind of weird when it happens. It's fun, but it's weird. Yeah, for me, it's more. Um, I have my character. Okay, what what brought them to the place where they are right now? Because usually when you have your story, you have a vague idea of what setting you're in, what the world is like. So it's like, what brought your character to the point where they are when the story starts? And then where does your character want to be, in the future? And the future could be tomorrow, not really that far off. Does your character just want to wake up the next day or not wake up the next day? Other things like that. And once you have where they've come from and where they're going, and where they come from can be something simple as, you know, blue collar, mom and pop, got through school with, 3.0 average, done, and now for some reason, they're working a dead end job, something as simple as that. It doesn't have to be complex, but that gives you at least the foundation to build off of.
Yeah, I may not be the greatest writer in the world. Like I said, the Bacchus Vine and Cemetery Clan are old work. I've definitely grown since then as a writer, but I can say that I've written enough to know that I can safely give this advice. Write what you know first.
Yeah.
It's hard to step outside of yourself, and you need practice. Like if you were going to write a story about a military character, like a character in the military, if you've never served in the military and don't know much about the military, your character is going to sound retarded to people who know the military. So you need to either do your research hardcore or rethink the structure. A lot of it is research, but also write what you know. Write about the experiences. Like, they're not directly, but I'm like, even when I was writing female characters, I still pulled from my own life experiences, like being bullied at school, or something like that. Right? Like, we all went through these things, and it helps you create a more grounded character. It feels realistic. But let's not get stuck too much on a single question. Let's keep moving. What? Let's see. Some pyromancer says, "Do you have any monsters you want to see art of?" Not off the top of my head. I mean, if you do anything interesting, fucking message me on my DMs are open on Twitter. I mean, if you do like a Cthulhu, I always appreciate Cthulhu art.
Cthulhu art. I'll have to hook you up with some more Cthulhu art then. I love chimeras, and because yeah, not simply because we're on Magog show, but because also I love dragons, and I'd love to see artwork of your dragon.
Yeah, that's Rufus is going to be rebuilt completely.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, I just animated him as a joke. I didn't think people would care, but they do. It was a damn joke, and now people are like, "We want more Rufus." Well, I can't give you that. It took me 16 hours to animate what I did. Like, so I'm definitely going to be working with CGI artists in the future to completely redo Rufus. Um, um, Lance Murdoch says, "What work of yours or your publishings would you recommend to someone checking your work out for the first time?"
Well, are you into science fiction, horror, or fantasy? That would be my first question. Let's see, if you're wanting something that's a little more easily accessible, I would actually say get John Foltz's book. I am very sorry, I'm totally blanking on the title at this very moment. But the author is John Foltz, and it's very much so in the vein of Elric. It's a collection of short stories which are adventures of Quill, who is a writer, and what he writes he comes to pass basically, and it's his adventures.
Yeah, I recommend the case file Arkham. I mean, I think it's a standard on your website. I love this cover art. It reminds me of like Weird Tales back when H.P. Lovecraft would be published in that magazine. And the artwork inside is just absolutely brilliant. Black and white, hatched ink work. And it's like a film noir set in the H.P. Lovecraft universe. So I think that might be a good starting point for you, as because I've enjoyed it so far. I haven't read the whole thing, but I'm definitely about halfway through it. I've been reading it a little bit before I fall asleep, just to give me good dreams of eldritch beasts and shadowy monsters. Kat, what comics are your favorite? Asks the artful snacker.
One of my all-time favorite graphic novel series actually goes along with some of the hell imagery that you were talking about earlier, is Requiem Vampire Night by Pat Mills, and I can't remember what the artist's name is. This artwork is just absolutely astounding. Let's see if maybe I can't find a link for you. Requiem.
And while she's doing that, I'll answer that question. I've always been a big fan of like more of the dark, underground, gritty comic books, more than like the mainstream. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Batman and stuff, and Spawn. Spawn's definitely a big one, and Hellblazer, Constantine. But I love these one-off comic books who have like 50 issues and then end like a proper story. It wouldn't keep going and going and going like Spider-Man does or X-Men. And so I love like The Boys, 100 Bullets. Those are great. Those are fantastic comic books. Things like that have always caught my attention because they're unapologetically awesome. They don't care about political correctness or anything like that. Especially The Boys. Boy, that is a twisted fucking comic book series.
Oh yeah. I was getting that when it was coming out.
Right. Let's see. Race Jacobson asks, I've started my own comic book company. What pitfalls should I avoid? I've already got a great team of writers and artists. I'm even in talks with Beardy. And Race has also contacted me about potentially doing a Magog comic book. The problem is I don't know if I have the time to walk him through all my lore. So it can be a little difficult, but I'd love to see a Magog comic. Maybe he can do something. Maybe I can come up with some sort of story for him real quick, and he can do like a single issue. And then if people like it, we can work together more. So contact me again, Race. We'll try to fit something in. Kat, go ahead and type something in the actual chat, and I'll give you a wrench so that you can post that link in the chat yourself.
Okay.
So if you just type something real quick, it doesn't have to be something, you just a bunch of letters. I just have to see your name pop up.
It's going to probably pop up as unreadable disk error. That is my screen name on YouTube.
That's fine. I'll just make sure to give it. Did you type something in?
I have to bring it up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just thought like for the rest of the stream, I mean, I'm still going to take this link that you.
Yeah, the Requiem series, there's 4 graphic novels that came out in print. The rest of them are all digital. Oh my God, it's just so amazingly beautiful.
Yeah. So as soon as I see that and give you a wrench, I'll scroll back up and start hitting these questions again. But you can answer his question since you actually run a comic company or a publishing group. What kind of pitfalls should he avoid?
Well, the biggest pitfall I would say is, and I'm gonna hate telling people this, I would suggest you avoid doing actual floppy books. Yes, I know that they have their place in in the world. And for people who are doing like single issue stories where it's a one and done, there won't be any more. Or if there is something else, it won't be, it's its own one and done, nothing more. Honestly, floppies for our business are a complete waste of money. The only reason why the big two can do it is because it's basically an advertisement that they can, it's an advertisement and potentially a tax write-off that they are getting the consumers to pay for them. I mean, especially with the amount of ads that are in floppies right now, there's no excuse for them costing $4. They really are. Alterna is doing it the right way, which is they're printing it on newsprint. In fact, if you were to do floppies, consider printing through Alterna because they just started their own printing service for printing floppies on newsprint. Otherwise, digital is a wonderful thing because, well, the great thing about digital is that there's no overhead. So you don't have to pay for printing costs or other things like that. It's once your book is done, you put it out there and your consumers buy it, and you get to collect the funds from it. But also digital is its own has its own market. I know a couple of years ago, people were kind of scared about oh my God, digital is going to kill the print medium and all this other stuff. No, it's that there are different markets for each one, and certain people like one over the other. Some people like both, and it's just good business practice to cater to both mediums. So don't rely on one over the other, but definitely digital is your friend, but so is print. I would just consider putting it all together as a graphic novel. In fact, putting them out as single issues digitally and then collecting them physically is a wonderful way to go, because then you know that you've got a built-in audience for it.
That's awesome. Popping over to Streamlabs real quick. Sasu Halls dropped $30 to me. It says, keep up the good work. Thank you. I hope I said your name right, Sasu Hall, or Sasu Hall. I hope I said that right. I really do. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I gave you a wrench too. So, did you type something in the chat, Kat? So I can give you a wrench.
It just now popped up so that I can do that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you got to go to the watch link and just type something real quick.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
The internet here is kind of wonky, so that's part of my problem.
Right.
One of many problems.
So let's scroll back up here. Let's see. After that, Abaddon the Despoiler ask Kat if she's heard of Warhammer 40K.
Oh yeah, I've totally heard of Warhammer 40K. In fact, I had a friend. It was one of the guys in my Vampire Masquerade game who had, God, so many Necrons, including the huge obelisk that they had. So it was a game I always wanted to get into and never had the money for it.
Ah, yes. The old World of Darkness. That's the only tabletop I ever played. People ask all the time, did I play D&D because I'm Magog, No, I never played D&D in my entire life. The only tabletop I ever played was New Wad Demon.
Demon, nice.
Yep. So,
nice. I was going to ask if you played Dark Ages, actually.
Nope, that's the only tabletop I ever played. Stephen Strange says, I have an odd question. I have a few ideas for some stories, but one of them uses something of an idea from an 80s film, Sentinel. Good idea or bad? I really have no idea. I need details. I'd say it's a good idea, because if it's something you enjoy doing and you love doing, put it out there. Get it together. But you definitely have to formulate the idea a little better than that. I don't remember the movie The Sentinel. I'm pretty sure I've seen it because it looks that title sounds familiar. I'm sure if I saw screenshots of it or something, I'd remember it, but I can't answer that question fully. Let's see. Would you write a small primer for your world for your fans. I'm working on that. I'm hoping to do lore videos once the new studio is built because I'll have the space to work on the artwork. Let's see. I don't know how to be a sexy assassin, but I still wrote a good comic book about one. Yeah, like I said, but it still has to start with something you know. Like you know how to write a person because you are a person. Everybody who writes interjects something from their own personality, even if it's a little thing, you know. Don't get me wrong. I wrote a book about a massive blood orgy and the rising of old gods. I'm not an old god. Or am I? Second Fleet Actual drops a sign in the chat. We can see you are still smoking. Shame, shame. Yeah, my that pipe mod I bought broke. So that whole quitting smoking thing lasted about a week. Don't judge me. I'm trying to figure something else out, which is a shame. I really enjoyed that pipe mod. But anyway, Vladimir Dragonov says, what do you think of Warhammer 40K? I'm not into Warhammer as much as some of my friends are, so I know about it, but I'm not into it. I've never played. I've never read any of the books. I have a friend of mine who even paints the little guys, you know.
There was a kick-ass graphic novel of the Sisters of Battle. That was an awesome one put out by, I guess they're now called Titan. But at the time, yeah, it was Titan Books put it out. That was like 15 years ago. It was an amazing book. I mean, just on its own, if you didn't know that was part of Warhammer, you could just enjoy it on its own.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Ian the Squire drops a sign in the chat and says, have either of you guys read Larry Correa's Monster Hunter International series? It mixes monster horror, action, and humor. I think you may really enjoy it. I'll have to check that out.
I read the first book. Very much so enjoyed it. Larry used to run shooting classes. And so he gets very detailed in his in which weapons his main characters use.
Right. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of keeping this to just the questions. Anver the Beldon, I hope I said that right. Would she have any advice for someone looking to publish a tabletop RPG?
Yeah, I do have advice actually. My husband is looking into doing a cyberpunk RPG. So we've both been researching that. So I guess really it's look into it, make sure that there's an audience for your game. Use a system that people are very familiar with. Don't go making your own. People aren't going to buy your book if you do that.
Yeah, I think that as far as tabletop goes, I think it's all about the system. I know I don't play much tabletop, but I have friends who do, and they're real hardcore about the system. Before you even create all the cool bits about the world and all the things, I think you have to have a basic idea of how you're going to do the system. Because, like, my friends bitched about the fucking the WAD system, World of Darkness. Like, I don't
Really?
know why, but they didn't like the D10 system. They didn't.
I loved it.
I'll have to bring my friends on that do tabletop RPGs and like let them interview about that because they're hardcore and they play every weekend. I mean, literally every weekend. They have a ongoing game that takes 12, 16 hours every Saturday. And then like Sundays, they'll play Star Wars tabletop. And like they have multiple games going on at once. You know, they'll play Werewolf. They'll play, you know, they'll have Werewolf going. And then the next weekend they'll have Star Wars going. And then like, I don't know how my buddy Wade, Judge Wade, fucking keeps up with it all.
I'm getting gaming blue balls. You just like mentioned like one of the highlights of my summer before I had to get a job in college where we were playing, you know, World of Darkness, Star Wars. I mean, just we even played Elric. It's like, oh, I miss those days. And now all my gaming buddies are gone.
Yeah, I don't really miss it personally because it took so much time
True.
out of my weekends that I can't sacrifice that time anymore. I'm too busy right now trying to build a world of my own. Um,
You're your own GM.
yeah, I guess in a way.
Or would it be Dungeon Master?
I have no idea. When I played WoD, we always called him GM, obviously, because I think Dungeon Master is strictly to Dungeons and Dragons. Let's see. Deggins Linsang says YouTube isn't letting me send super chats. I have no idea why. Some people have been reporting that's happened. I don't know why. You can try Streamlabs. I'm going to be refreshing that from time to time and reading stuff from there if you'd really like to donate. If not, I really appreciate the sentiment anyway. I love that people donate now and again to help keep this all going. But if YouTube's not letting you do it, it might not be letting you do it because you're cursing. Like I've noticed that. Like some people have been reporting that if you type out a curse word in a super chat, it'll cancel it. So I don't know if that's it or not. I have no idea. YouTube's really fucking stupid. Like they are fucking us hard over here, man. They really are. So I just gave you a you figured it out. So yep, there it is. You have a wrench now under that particular YouTube unreadable disk error, and
awesome.
You can post links now. So if we come across anything that people want links to, you can go ahead and spam your website link if you want to. Throw in 01publishing.com in there, and all kinds of stuff, whatever you'd like to do. So anyway, I have no idea if they're putting a limit. I don't think so, because when I run side quests, man, we get all kinds of donations. I don't understand why some people have a problem with the donations. Like I said, it might be language use. But I've had similar problems too, where I'll want to throw $5 at AP and Ghastly while watching, the stream, and it won't let me do it. And I don't, I have no idea. Anyway, so does anybody have any more questions? Go ahead and throw them in the chat. And while we're doing that, do you have any questions for me, Kat? Since we're on.
And, my God!
This is an opportunity for you to pick my brain, or whatever you'd like to do. Now that I've spent an hour grilling you, now's time for revenge. Now's the time for revenge.
Well, I do have some questions, but I have enough experience living close to a military base. It might go down a dark path. I was just curious about your time in the service, actually.
Oh, I've talked about that plenty on streams, never in any detail, but I spent 5 years in the Air Force. I was stationed in Europe. I did convoys in Iraq. I got injured, and now I'm home. That's the quick and dirty.
That's the quick and dirty. Okay.
That's the quick and dirty. So, but yeah, I military service aside, I served my country for 5 years, and then I came home, essentially, and now I'm a disabled vet, technically. I mean, because my back injuries. But ultimately, it's just a part of my life that made me who I am, and I don't regret it. I served my country, and I was proud to, and that was about it.
Cool. When my husband was working on Titanium Rain, you were talking about if you're going to write military, if you're not military, don't do it unless you research the hell out of it. Because, that's what he did, is he researched the hell out of all the branches, but especially the Air Force, for about 1.5 years, because he wanted to make sure he didn't sound like an idiot. What both of us especially loved were, just stories of, what guys would do in their off time, or what you would do to occupy yourself while you were, waiting at base,
Jerk
while
off.
you're deployed. Jerk off? Okay.
Yeah, that's what you do. If you're not out on a mission in Iraq, you get into your spank tank and you fucking rub one out.
So, I mean, I know it's a completely different branch, but did you see Generation Kill?
No. What is that, a documentary?
Yeah. I actually read the book too. a Rolling Stone journalist embedded with First Recon in Iraq, and it's what all they went through. And I wasn't going to talk about the combat stuff, but just the things that they were doing on downtime and things like that. Yeah, I was just curious if it was similar, but anyway,
I have tons of stories, but unfortunately, I don't want to get into it on this stream because we'll probably be bringing it to an end in about 40 minutes. I wanted this to be no more than 2 hours, so.
Not a problem. Then let us change subject here. I'm trying to think of something that you haven't spoken about at length on your streams already. So I am. Have you talked at all about some of the items that you have in the background that are part of Magog's workshop?
Yeah, I basically, there's been a couple streams where people have asked me, but most of that back there is either an actual antique that I got in England when I was there. Like some of the books on the shelf back there are like old books. Like one of them's like complete works of William Shakespeare printed in 1888 on the Oxford Press. You know,
nice.
My collection of Edgar Allan Poe is back there from like 1905. You know, things like that. But then the rest of it is either handmade or it's from flea markets. I mean, I just went out and was like, "This looks medievally. I'll buy that." You know, I just wanted it to be cluttered and kind of filled with junk. It's a wizard tower, you know. So a lot of the potion bottles and things like that are all just from local flea markets. I was like, oh, that'll look good with some colored liquid inside of it, you know. And then the scrolls are all spells that I printed off, either created them myself or saved them from like Google Images. And then I aged the paper in coffee and put them in the oven. And when they were done, you know, they got all crinkly and yellowed, so they look old. And I rolled them up and put a little leather strap around them, you know. I probably made about like 57 scrolls as part of just to have on the set, you know. Just little shit like that, just collecting costume jewelry. The coins are just like old, you know, like actual, you know, you can buy them on Amazon. They're just like pirate coins, you know, they're just fake coins, you know. Carbureted anus with an emulsified rube taste. Drops a sign in the chat. That's a hell of a name. I'll screw a socialist customer over to make this money back. Love your channel, man. Thanks, carbureted anus with an emulsified rube taste.
Not just a rube taste, it's emulsified.
You guy's name is awesome. Second Fleet Actual says, we are still waiting for that POB, by the way. POB? Oh, P.O. Box. Yeah. Ran into a little problem with that. My very small town's post office didn't have any. All of them were taken. They only have 30 of them there. So I either have to put my real address out there or wait until I move to the property because it's in a different county and I can go and get one in that county. I might still be able to get one in that county. I can go and get one, go to Valonia or one of the cities in that county and try to get a P.O. box. But the problem is I don't live there. I don't have an address there. So I can't forward what comes to my P.O. box to here because it's a different county. So because I wanted to get a P.O. box, but then just have them forward anything that came to it to my actual address. It's kind of a buffer so people didn't know where I really lived. And unfortunately, my very small town that I live in right now does not have enough P.O. boxes. So give me some time on that. I'm figuring it out. Sorry.
Do you have like postal annexes or any places like that?
Yeah, but they're so far away, you know, like it's, you know, like I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere here. This apartment complex is literally down an old highway out in the middle of bumfuck Egypt. Like, I mean, I'm 20 minutes from my closest town already, you know?
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah. So, um, which I'm fine with. I like living out in the country. It's a piece of quiet out here. This isn't some ghetto apartment with gunshots, and gun bullet holes in the walls and shit. This is a nice little place. And
I've lived in a place like that. No, I grew up in Inglewood. When the Rodney King riots happened, places just half a block up the street from my house were set on fire. I was right in the thick of it. Uh, so I know what that's like with bullets coming through and crack
yeah,
houses next door. And yeah.
I just like there's a bank down the road from me that has PO boxes from the
Oh,
post
that's
office
nice.
inside their door. So it's like their outer door is always unlocked and their inner door is locked when they close so that people can still get to their PO boxes even when the branch is closed. And I thought about calling the number and seeing if they had any available there because it's through a different post office, but it's in my town because it's right there at the county line. So I'm hoping they have one open. I've just got to get up there and call that number because the bank has nothing to do with that. They just allowed those PO boxes to be in their building. Probably to get some sort of tax break or something, But I'm going to call that number and see if they have an available PO box at that bank because they are a bank that I bank at too. So it wouldn't be bad to have a PO box that's at my bank location. But I'm trying to figure it out because people want to send me props and packages and stuff, right? The problem with that is those PO boxes in that bank are this big. They're little. They're little ones. They're more for like local businesses who are like going to go to the bank anyway, and they'll have mail. But they don't have any of the big PO boxes for packages. And I wanted to rent one of the big ones, But if they'll do like forwarding, if they'll do address forwarding, I'll look into that. But let me go figure it out. I just know that my closest post office, the one that would be the easiest for me to get back and forth to, which is about 15 minutes away, does not have any more PO boxes to rent at the moment. I did give them my information, told them to call me if one comes open. So, yep. Magog, you're moving to Nightshade, and everyone knows where that is. Just say send it there. Like I said,
Magog at Nightshade.
Yeah, honestly though, if you guys have Twitter, or or Facebook or whatever, you can message me directly. If you have something to send me, I'll give you my address. I just don't want to make it public. You know, that's what I did for this. And the knife that Stalvin's Forge made me that I showed on SideQuest. I mean, these are props sent by the fans. They just directed me. They just contacted me directly, and I just gave them my address because I'll trust. I'll trust a fan. I just don't want to put it out there for any old person until I move, you know, because I don't want people showing up here after I move and they don't know I've moved. And maybe some fan wants to come out here or even somebody that I don't know and they come looking and somebody else is living in this apartment and bothers them. I just don't want that happening. Or people sending stuff to this address directly and I'm no longer living here because I've moved up to the land. So, I'd hate for this apartment complex to suddenly start getting packages and shit like that, and I'm not here anymore. So, because I'm in this kind of temporary transition phase where I'll be moving soon once the studio's built. Like I said, the guys up there working on the land. I'll be able to go up there and get some footage this week and everything, and after that's done, man, we're ready to build. I'm going to be sitting down with a builder, so I'm very busy right now. I'm doing the best I can, keeping up with content and live streams and side quests and all that stuff. But just everybody, just be patient with me because I'm not just, I'm writing scripts. I'm doing artwork, trying to get new T-shirt designs and stuff because people have been asking for them. And then I'm also, trying to get videos done and everything. But at the same time, I'm also taking meetings. I'm going out to the property. I've got a meeting with 2 different builders because we're going to try to get the lowest bid, coming up here soon. In the next couple of days, I've got to go all the way to a town way up north because that's where their headquarters is at, but they're totally willing to build the building I want down here. And they work with the bank that I bank at, and I feel like I trust them. So I'd like to get a builder that I know. You know, we got all kinds of stuff going on. So just everybody bear with me a little bit. I'm doing my best here. Yeah. So anyway, I don't really have much else for you as far as like questions and stuff. So if there's anything you'd like to talk about this last half hour, I'm game. Is that on your end, the kids? There's children?
Yeah, that's the childers outside.
Ah, they're not yours, are they? Or are they neighbors?
Oh dear God, no. No, I have rats.
You have pet, like I'm assuming pet rats, not vermin in your apartment.
No, I do not have vermin. My rats are clean. In fact, they are hairless. So
hairless rats. That's always nice. Carbureted anus with an emulsified rube taste asks, did you see Dankula's video today called The Reds Are Coming? Funny as hell. I did not. I honestly woke up from sleeping during the day because for some reason I'm still on kind of a night shift right now. And I got in contact with Kat and I prepared for this interview. So I haven't really caught up on YouTube, but I will check that out because I love Dankula. He's funny.
Dankula is awesome. I haven't seen it either. I've been working all day, so got home and prepared for this chat as well. So
right. So when it comes to taking on like new writers and new artists and new projects, like are you guys hiring? Like, let's put that out there, that information. If there's any prospective writers or artists that are watching this, what if they wanted to work with you? What's the process with that?
Well, actually, on 01 Publishing's website, under the About Us tab, you'll find our submission guidelines, where we have for both for prose and for graphic novels. Yes, it does say that we are not accepting unsolicited solicitations, but if you do email me and you follow the guidelines, I will give you an honest answer. So basically, it says that to weed people out. If you are determined, go ahead and submit your proposal to me. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, if you use the keyword Magog in your email header, she'll know that you're a fan.
Actually, yes. I'm serious about that. I'll know that you're a fan. I'll know that you saw this stream, and I will make sure that I definitely get back to you with some form of answer. And if it's not something that I think that would fit in our wheelhouse, I will help direct you to somebody who I think would be interested. So yeah, definitely do not be afraid to send submissions. We do not hire as employees. You would be a contractor. So,
right. So that's like a 1099. You get paid by the job type of thing.
Well, you get an advance, and then once we make back our money off the advance, then you start making royalties.
Yeah, there you go. That's pretty awesome. And so yeah, everybody, you can contact if you're interested in being an artist or just even asking Kat some questions or whatever. If you put in the header, Magog's incredibly large manly penis, then she will answer.
Well, I'd always love to see that. No, but anyway,
please don't spam her email with that. It was a joke, people. It was a joke, for the love of all things holy.
I have an open door policy as far as answering questions about the industry and my experience, both as a creator and as a publisher. I think that it's ridiculous how some people think that this stuff should be secret, and that you can't know the inner sanctum of what goes on in publishing. No, that's bullshit. Yes, though I do own and run a publishing company, I will be honest and say you don't need a publishing company. Publishing companies are there to do the stuff that you don't want to do as a creator. As a creator, you want to create. The publishing company is there to do all the not fun things like keep track of sales and send
Right.
money and stuff like that. That's what publishers are for. You don't need a publisher. And if you want one, definitely go out there and get one, but you don't need one in today's market. And I am happy to impart any information that I have, any pearls of wisdom, any horror stories. And as I said, I am currently working on a book as well.
Yeah, there you go. And obviously some people don't want to do the marketing themselves. They don't want to do, put up with all that. So a publishing company is a good idea. But if you're willing to put in all the work yourself, get out there and do it. Diggins Linsang asks, how's quitting smoking going? It's going great. I'm a terrible person. Let's see. It will be fun to help make you some hiking sticks and other woodworked item and props. Yeah, contact me on Twitter or on Facebook through my fan page. I answer Twitter and Facebook more often than my email, thedeerandmagog@protonmail.com. But if you write there, I'll eventually see it. But yeah, I'd love to have like a custom magic staff for Magog carved out of wood with some sort of wicked design. If you could do that, that'd be awesome. Let's see. Magog, are there creatures similar to Skaven, humanoid ratmen in Morskar? Sure. I'm open to pretty much anything. I haven't exactly like locked down every single creature that's in Morskar. You guys got to understand that the whole world Magog lives in is still evolving, but there's plenty of other shit. Shapeshifters are a thing, so possibly somebody could easily turn into a rat creature of some sort and tear some motherfuckers to pieces. That's definitely be a thing because of that. Let's see. I use docking leaves to wipe my bum. And congratulations, Fenrir.
Actually, I'm sure you brought this up on a previous chat, but I missed it. Where'd you get Magog's eyes?
Shit, I forgot the company. They're just from the internet. There's a contact lens company. I think it's Special Effects Lenses or Spooky Eyes, one of those two. And they're there, and you just order them. You have to give them your eye doctor information, so that they will fax your doctor and ask if these are okay. Like they have to get the okay from your eye doctor before they sell them to you. That's a new FDA regulation. Used to be you could just order the damn things, off Amazon. It's like, oh, they're Halloween contact lenses, just, whatever. But once you provide them with your doctor, even if you have to just go there and be like, hey, can I be a patient of yours? Like I go to my eye doctor every year, and for $100, I just get an eye checkup. And so they have my file on hand, and I use that doctor and his fax, and I put in the information, and they faxed him, was like, is this patient okay to wear these contact lenses that are non-prescription? And the doctor will answer back within about a day. Their office is compelled to by law. And then they'll send them to you. I think my contact lenses for Magog are $24.95, and they last a year. So once they're open, they last a year if you take care of them. Second Fleet Actual drops a sign in the chat, says, if you keep smoking, your man bits will explode. It's worth it. I do need to quit. I've been talking about it for months now, and it's just, I tried to quit for about a week, and I had that vape pipe, and it just didn't work out. I don't know what to do anymore. I guess I could try the patch again or something. I don't know. That vape just made me want to smoke more. I always thought that was I always knew that, but I thought I'd give it one more try, and it just didn't work. Then the damn thing broke anyway. Fucking piece of shit.
I don't know if it helps at all, but when my dad quit, he got the cigarettes that are basically they're like hand rolled cigarettes, so it doesn't have any of that, all the chemicals and crap in it. It's just the whole tobacco leaf and paper, basically. So it at least, while he was, getting, whittling himself down, he stopped smoking the really bad for you cigarettes, and it's simply now just the fact that you're inhaling smoke, and that worked at least as a step down.
Yeah, I've thought about something like that, but then I realized that's no fun. I like menthol. I can't help it. I love menthol, and I can't do that with hand rolled.
Got it.
Yeah, I smoke menthols, so I like that coolness, that cool, feeling. The engaged few ask, ever wonder what Morskar would be like if technology had evolved there alongside magic? It'd probably be a lot like a futuristic cyberpunk reality, a lot like Shadowrun, where you have like technomancy and shit like that. I really loved that movie that came out on Netflix with Will Smith, where it was like a futuristic, like cyberpunk world, like cyberpunk fantasy world with like magic, and he had to be teamed up with an orc as a cop. What's the name of that fucking movie? I have to somebody Bright. That's it. Thanks for burying Bright. I actually really enjoyed that. Like I thought it had like a real kind of Shadowrun feel to it. That kind of futuristic mixed with fantasy.
Cool. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah. Oh, definitely check it out. I thought it would be like filled with SJW crap. Just by the trailer.
Yeah.
Just from the trailer, just from watching the trailer, but I was genuinely surprised by it. I had a lot of fun watching it. It was just a fun movie, and had some awesome imagery in it. Like this fucking elven chick, she finds a fucking magic wand, and apparently magic wands are like nuclear weapons in that world. Like there's not many of them around. And so when someone finds a magic wand, everybody freaks the fuck out and wants it, And she, like, you should see some of the shit. Like she blew somebody, she fucking used the magic wand on somebody and it like merged them into the wall, and they had all this, like, their body had turned into like part crystal and shit. I was like, fuck.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool little movie. Like I was genuinely surprised, and it was by the same director who directed Suicide Squad.
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't think Suicide Squad was that impressive of a movie, but Bright was. I hope they make a sequel. I really do. I loved how the world was. Like orcs are all like second class citizens in that world. Because they were sided with the dark evil one back in the day, and it took humans and elves to defeat them. And now orcs, 1,000 years later, the orcs still can't live down that whole "you were the Nazis," basically, because the orcs were part of the bad guys' army back 1,000 years ago, and they're trying to live down this stigma of being like the big baddies, and so they all live in ghettos and shit. Like it's really cool. And I loved his partner, who I don't know who played the orc, but he was great. They had great makeup, and he had like he had filed down his tusks, but I love the ending when they're all like, sitting there, and the special, like FBI, I guess the magic FBI is in there, and they're just standing there, and the orc was like, "You won't believe what happened. Like, we found a magic wand, and this girl, she brought me back from the dead," and he's all like rambling, and Will Smith's like, "Shut up, man." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, he saved my life," and he's like going off, and then finally he just stops, and Will Smith's like, "There was no magic wand. Nothing happened." And they were like, "Good enough for us." And they like walked out. According to Rev68, that was Joel Edgerton. But he did a fantastic job. I loved it. It was like, it kind of had that, I don't know if you ever saw that old 80s movie, and I know it became a sci-fi show. There was an old 80s movie with James Caan and Mandy Patinkin called Alien Nation.
Yes, Alien Nation. I love that show.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that. Like the aliens now live with us, and they're like like Mandy Patinkin played the first alien detective to ever make detective, like alien cop to make detective. And so they force James Caan, who hates these aliens, to team up with the first alien detective, and they eventually become friends. That's kind of the same feeling as Bright, like except with orc.
That's
Like,
cool.
yeah, Will Smith plays a human cop who is forced to team up with an orc cop. You know, I heard the TV show was good, but I never watched it. I think it only ran for one season, and it was way long time ago. So I guess I just missed it. But
it was really good. It was definitely ahead of its time. I think it was a little too smart.
Yeah, Rev 68 says Bright was pretty much an Alien Nation ripoff, which I'm okay with. You know, as far as ripoffs go, it was a good ripoff. You know, like it still had its own kind of feeling to it, you know, and its own visual presence, which I was okay with. You know, like little fairy is fucking up the bird feeder. You know, fucking Will Smith goes out there with a broom and goes all gangster on the ferry. And his like gangster ass fucking neighbors are all like, "Yeah, show him who's boss." And he's like beating this fucking fairy on the ground. And then he stops and goes, "Fairy lives don't matter."
Oh wow.
So like I said, I thought that movie would have like a lot of SJW bullshit in it. It wasn't. It was actually kind of anti-PC. Like they straight up pulled a Black Lives Don't Matter fucking joke in it, just with fairies. You know, like it's like Jesus. And then Will Smith has some great lines in it because you know he's good at performing those like quips, those real quick one-liners. And you know his fucking neighbors are out there all listening to rap music and shit. And he's trying to sell his house, and he's like, "Yeah, y'all keep doing your gangster shit. I'm only trying to sell my house over here."
Wow.
I thought it was just it was a really fun movie, you know, and it showed like the corrupt kind of classism too that happens in pretty much most societies. You have the super rich, and then you have, you know, everybody else. And it's like the elves are like beautiful and they're wealthy and they're powerful, and they all have their own like little side of town that's like cut off. Like you have to have a special pass to go into the elven neighborhoods because they're all super rich people, you know. It's an interesting kind of like commentary on society using fantasy characters. And it's a Netflix original, so it should still be on Netflix. You can watch it. It's just called Bright. You know?
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, definitely watch it. In fact, talking about it makes me kind of want to watch it again. I only saw it when it first came out, and that was last year. So I might watch it tonight while I'm working on a script. Like people, I do want to give some people an update, the people that are still watching. Magog videos, I already announced that Magog videos are going to have to come when they come because I'm so busy right now. But I am working on BitChute original content too because I'm trying to promote that website. And I really like what they're doing over there, so I'd like to see what comes of it. And I plan on having the CEO of BitChute on to do an interview here in the next probably week. We haven't decided on a time because he's a very busy man and he lives in England, so there's like the time difference, you know. But look forward to that, and look forward to probably a Magog movie review on BitChute, because I can't really do those on YouTube. Anytime you use more than like a 5-second clip of the movie, you get flagged. Like Drunken Peasants just lost their streaming capability for a private video that had a 5-second clip of Star Trek in it. And CBS flagged it. And even though they didn't get a community strike, they lost streaming capability for 90 days. So now
CBS are Nazis.
Yeah,
they really are.
YouTube can actually take away your streaming ability without giving you a community strike. Like fucking Billy and Ben showed me the screenshot of their creator studio, their channel, and they had 0 community strikes, but streaming was suspended for 90 days. So they can just take away shit without even giving you a community strike. And it was a private video. It wasn't even public. It wasn't even unlisted. It was private. They uploaded it because they wanted a copy of it to like send the link to somebody. And it had a little 5-second Star Trek clip in it, and CBS. And as soon as they got the copyright flag, YouTube took away streaming. And because Drunken Peasants is a streaming channel, that pretty much killed them. You know, they've been doing the Drunken Peasants on their alternative channel right now, their alternate channel. So this is why I'm going to probably do movie reviews and things like that over on BitChute. Because I've always wanted to do that with Magog as kind of the outsider looking in. He's a wizard. So like, I really, because I just watched it, and we talked about this off air before the show started, because I just watched the new Power Rangers that came out in 2017, and there was so much like cringy social shit happening in it, like social views and stuff. I was like, this is perfect for Magog. Plus because he would never be a fan of Power Rangers. He wouldn't know what it was. He wouldn't have been raised with it. He lives in a whole other world. And I never really watched it anyway, but I have something to say about that movie. So I think it'd be really funny for a non-fan of Power Ranger who lives in a fantasy realm to be like, this movie is garbage.
I am so looking forward to this. Seriously. I was a fan of the show when I was a kid. I loved that show. Actually, God, I sound so fucking Hollywood. My dad's third wife was one of the makeup artists on like season 4 or season 5. So I got to see like the costumes hanging up in their house and everything. It was so awesome. And cool. The movie looked like a piece of trash. Or this movie looked like a piece of trash. I actually really enjoy Ivan Ooze because it's thoroughly cheesy as hell.
On the upside, they did try to do something unique with it. They didn't just start it off being like action. You know, a lot of those movies, they jump right into it. The first 10 minutes of the movie introduces the characters, and before you know it, they already have their powers. At least with this movie, they didn't actually get their suits and actually become Power Rangers and fight the bad guy until like the last 30 minutes of the film. So it was all about trying to build up the characters. The problem with that was the characters are really bad, edgy cliches. You know, just bad. Like, I'm sorry. I wanted to like the movie. It started off good, but at the same time, it did start off in a way that I wasn't expecting. Within the first 5 minutes, there's a jerking off a cow joke.
Oh my God.
Like, I guess like Jason and some other dude he hangs out with, because he's like a footballer, you know, he was a quarterback. They're like pulling a cow, like a real cow, into the locker room of their rival football team as a prank. So they've broken into this school and they're trying to pull this cow into the locker room and like tie it up as a prank to the other football team. And his friend's like pushing the cow. And it's like, why, you know, and they said something. And then he was all like, she should be calm. I just milked her. And then Jason's all like, you mean him? And he's like, what? And he's like, did she only have one udder? And the guy's like, yeah, I guess that makes sense now that I think about it. I had to use like both hands. I was like, this is Power Rangers?
Oh my God.
This is Power Rangers. Like, there's a jerking off a cow joke in Power Rangers.
Wow. Actually, I remember when they were talking about this movie coming out, some independent group with Katie Sackhoff and a couple of other people did their own like fake Power Rangers trailer, and it was all post-apocalyptic. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
That was awesome.
That was badass. Like, that's a real Power Rangers, adult Power Rangers. Like,
it's like, that's what we wanted.
Yeah, if you wanted to market Power Rangers to the people that grew up with it and now want to see a darker version, kind of like the Batman thing, you know? Like, that's what Nolan did, I think. I feel like Nolan with Batman and Dark Knight, you know? That's what he took. He took these kids that grew up with the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher films, right? That admittedly were for kids, even though Burton's was a little dark. They were for kids, right? Especially the Joel Schumacher ones. You know, Batman Forever, you know, and Batman and Robin, those are definitely for kids. And Christopher Nolan came in and was like, I want to do this serious and dark and actually have it mean something and have an in-depth story. And that works with certain things. People love nostalgia, but they want to see it done new. They want to see it adult. The problem with Power Rangers 2017 is it couldn't decide whether it wanted to be a nostalgic movie for adults that grew up with Power Rangers or a movie for kids now, like millennials. So it missed the mark on so many things, you know?
It really did. I think part of it was also they're thinking, but we've got to market the toys. Like,
yeah, they
no.
they even threw in a few jokes. Like they tried to be all edgy and be like at the end when the big robot, the Megazord, is fighting Goldar. They even like threw in a like, in your face Transformers type of joke. Kind of a stab at Michael Bay, It was bad. Yeah, it was bad.
Okay, yes, I haven't seen it.
Oh, and
so I could be talking out of my ass, but you never mention a better movie than your own in your own movie.
yeah, exactly. And then they had the whole like product placement in that was bad. Like apparently this life crystal that the Power Rangers have to protect because like this crystal broke apart during the Big Bang and pieces of the crystal, impacted on planets. And wherever pieces of that crystal landed, life would actually happen. Like it's the explanation of life, right? And so the Power Rangers protect the crystal, right? And the crystal for Earth, is buried under a Krispy Kreme. So the whole goddamn movie is about Krispy Kreme. Talk about some serious product placement.
Wow.
It almost got annoying how bad the product placement was. Because you literally have Power Rangers in their Zord, they're robots, they're dinosaur robots, and they're literally yelling, "Protect the Krispy Kreme!" Because the big monster's trying to dig up the crystal that's under the Krispy Kreme. So to hear the Power Rangers go, "Protect the Krispy Kreme!" I almost put a gun in my mouth. Yeah. There's even a scene where Rita, the bad guy, like goes into the Krispy Kreme and is all like smelling the donuts, She's kind of like, what the fuck is this? Because she's an alien, she doesn't get it. And then she like bites into it and she's like, And I'm like, we get it. Buy Krispy Kreme. We fucking get it already. It was that bad. Like, honestly, I didn't really. I thought I'd be surprised by it because some of the reviews were people like, I had low expectations, but it was a pretty good movie. You're lying.
Wow, I'm kind of speechless by the Krispy Kreme thing.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. They're even like when the dude found out it was under Krispy Kreme and Rita's like torturing them to find out where the crystal is. He's all like, it's under Krispy Kreme. And her being an alien, she's like, of course, this must be a magical place, a place of wonderment, because it is the source of all life. And they're like, yeah, pretty much, it's Krispy Kreme. And I'm like, ouch.
I'm just, it's the time to play, insert product placement here and redo all of that dialogue, but then like throw in random other things like, bring in Demolition Man's Taco Bell or, other really stupid places. Well,
at least.
It was done well
in Demolition Man. There are some product placements that make sense. Ghostbusters 2016 filled with Papa John's and Coke. But because of the franchises, you couldn't show Papa John's with Coke because they sell Pepsi products. So like
I remember hearing about that.
So when the Ghostbusters are eating Papa John's pizza in their little fucking house, they're drinking out of like plain soda paper cups, because they couldn't have Coke on the table with Papa John's. It's like, that's bad. But you go back to Demolition Man, it was part of the story. Like Taco Bell won the franchise wars. So all restaurants were Taco Bell. That was a clever way to throw in product placement. But you didn't have Stallone running throughout the whole movie going, "We gotta save the Taco Bell." You know, I mean, you know, it was too. Some of this product placement is too cringy. You know, like they have to make the movie with these product endorsements, though. Some of them can't raise the money through just the production company, so they have to cut deals with people. And I guess Krispy Kreme's time came, and they were like, "We're gonna do Power Rangers."
Gonna throw it all on Power Rangers.
Yep. But this is what's happening in the modern day. I mean, everybody's bitching about, taking something nostalgic that we all grew up with and then changing it in a way that just does not suit. I mean, you got She-Ra, you got the new Thundercats, you got like all the SJW comics and from Marvel and DC. I remember seeing like Diversity in Comics or something posted like an image of one of the new Thor comics, because Thor's a female now. And she was all like, "By the holy menstruation, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Holy menstruation."
That's when I just say, I have my DVDs, I have my back issues, I have my memories. Fuck all that shit. And they just won't get any more money from me or any more of my time because that's what I have to vote with. Yes, I totally was incredibly annoyed at the new look for She-Ra, and I put through in my 2 cents, but I'm not going to get outraged about it because at the end of the day, the best way I can hurt them is to not give them my money and to not talk about them, at least not online, or at least not hashtag them, because that's only free advertisement. So.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I only brought it up as more of an overarching discussion, which is, Hollywood and mainstream stuff has gotten really they like really sold out, got really corporate, all about the remake, all about the reboot.
I'd rant more, but we don't have much time, so I'm limiting my comment.
Yeah, I'm shutting this thing down. I didn't want this to go.
I can rant more online.
Yeah, and it looks like Beardbarian couldn't make it today. I invited him, but I guess he had dinner or something to go to with the family. I wanted him to meet you, but maybe another time. You're always more than welcome to pop on. You seem like a really cool person. Love talking to you. My fans seem to like you. I
would be honored to come back. That would be a wonderful thing. And just, shooting the shit, taking it easy. That would be awesome.
Yeah. You have an open invitation. If any time you're watching and I see you in the chat and I'm not, on these types of streams, sometimes I just do random hangouts and I see you, I'll be like, "Oh, I'll throw her a link." That's kind of the way it works. Unless we schedule something, it's like, if you see me online just doing a BS stream, like a Beyond Magog, you could be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm not doing anything." I'll be like, "Oh, okay, here's the link." That's kind of how it works, But outside of that, if you ever want to schedule another show or something and talk more about like your newest book to come out or anything like that, I'd be happy to have you back on. It seems like my loyal Magogonites like your presence.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you all, and thank you. That would be wonderful.
Yes. So everybody, once again, just kind of wrap it up. Check out the links in the description. Follow Kat and 01 Publishing on Twitter. And then there's also the 01 Publishing website down in there in the links. Check out some of the products. They have some great graphic novels. The artwork's great. The cover art is great. I mean, they definitely seem to take pride in their products over there. So if you're a fan of the H.P. Lovecraft universe, I really feel like you'll like what they have to offer over there. And you get these really nice, thick, kind of thick single stories. I mean, you don't have to worry about volumes. You don't have to worry about like, "Oh my God, I missed the first one." Like they're not connected. They're all their own standalone stories. And it looks like a whole lot of work and passion went into it. And I love people with passion and put into work ethic because I'm trying to do the same thing here, just on a really big scale, So I'm always happy to meet people who are trying to, kind of do things for themselves, So once again, thanks, Kat. Say goodbye.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me on again. And have a good evening, you guys.
See you guys next time. Booyah. Ass rape.